Hello everybody, this is Tina and Katia, and we are talking about the Sun in Taurus with an Aries North Node. And if this is your first time tuning in, and you don't know anything about third stage astrology and the concept of there being 3 stages or 3 different types of each sign, it would probably be a good idea to look at our video about Taurus, because it explains in depth the stages. So you may be able to get a sense of what stage you are at. And even if you don't have a sense of what stage you're at from watching that, maybe by watching this, you'll have an understanding. Because what third stage astrology is based on is the concept that we stay the same sign for a long series of lifetimes. And we go through 3 stages with each sign. And each stage lasts for 3 or 4 lifetimes. Also, each stage is a completely different personality type, a different response to life. And they are so different from each other that in my book, I use the images of the caterpillar, the cocoon, and the butterfly, which are good metaphors for this whole process of development, but they're also a good metaphor for how different each stage is from the other. And they're all connected to each other because one leads to another, just like the development of a butterfly.
Yeah. Even though they're unrecognizable.
As I can't tell that they're beings. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd never believe a caterpillar and a butterfly are the same species.
That's right. and they're genetically different.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we were going to start with first stage Taurus and what a first stage Taurus would be like with the North Node in Aries. Now, first stage Taurus people have a very, well, Taurus actually is the sign that is about the expression of unconditional love. And first stage Aries people are very innocently, naturally loving. Now, most of the people watching this stuff are, for all of the signs, generally people are going to be in second, third stage, or third stage, because for all of the signs, those are the stages that view life from a deeper level, that are curious about the meaning of things, that want to learn and grow in terms of these deeper subjects. However, older souls are deep no matter what stage they're in, so we may have some first and second stage people watching these as well. So first stage Taurus, as I start to say, is this very innocent love ball.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of first stage Taurus people give a lot of love, but they don't really get a lot of love back because that's what they're trying to do. Subconsciously, that's their way of trying to learn how to love unconditionally. Unconditional love means you love people no matter what. It doesn't matter whether they're going to love you back. So subconsciously, well, a good way to practice that is to love people who don't love me back. And usually a first stage Taurus people, the bottom line of a first stage Taurus is that they stay optimistic, they stay positive. So even if you're loving people and for some reason you can't really be together very much, or we're loving people who, for their own limitations, aren't able to return it, first stage Taurus still stays optimistic. So I'm wondering if a North Node in Aries would be applicable to a first stage Taurus. Will we find any first stage Tauruses with this configuration? I'm not sure.
I can't really imagine. Because yes, if they're really taking on that illusion or that approach that in order to learn how to love unconditionally, we must, the best training ground, is to find someone who can't really love me back the way that I need it or want it. If that's really my subconscious stance that I'm taking on in the first stage, then an Aries North Node would really not be, wouldn't be resonant in that.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. You can see someone with a Libra North Node.
Yeah, for sure.
Video.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's I guess that's, to a degree, it's good news. Probably if you're watching this and you're a Taurus with an Aries North Node, you're finished with first stage. Probably. Yes. Not that it's a bad thing to be in first stage, because first stage people tend to be happy. But by the time they get to the end of first stage, it's been 3 or 4 lifetimes of loving partners, mates, romantic attractions or romantic partners who don't really love you back, family members who don't really love you back. And by the end of first stage Taurus, that finally really, really breaks your heart.
Yes, because it was actually an illusion in the first place, wasn't it? That that loving people that don't love us back is actually the best way to learn unconditional love.
Yeah, it's true. Well,
Bit of an
it's a very
innocent
rudimentary way to try and learn it. It's a very beginning way to do it. And that's what first stage is about. It's about just setting the groundwork, the basic foundation that we're going to live from for the rest of the stages. It's the caterpillar. The caterpillar is eating up a whole bunch of leaves of nobody loves me in first stage.
Yum.
Yes, that's great. No wonder they can have eating disorders in the second stage.
Oh, goodness. Well, now it all makes sense. So, okay. So the Taurus at the end of first stage, finally, at some point, they can't handle it anymore, right? Because they're just not, they do need something in return. They're human. They need, they can't just give and give and give and never receive. That's a recipe for becoming depleted.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think I'd say in my book that it's like a person's walk for miles on just one foot.
Yes.
They fall over.
Exactly.
Yeah, so second stage Taurus is compensating for all of this time of not being loved in return. And there's lots of different ways to do that. I mean, one is to still keep trying to make those impossible relationships work, but it becomes more dramatic. It's more of a Romeo and Juliet kind of anguish that people go through as they're still attracted to somebody who's not loving them back, as they're still, struggling with a parent or a child who doesn't love them back. So there's that dramatic approach, but sometimes there's the other approach of saying, well, hold on here, wait a minute, what about me?
Yeah.
And that's where the Aries North Node sort of immediately, rings a bell.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I've had all these unequal relationships, says the Libra South Node, and I want these things to be about me now. Now, if it's pure second stage, there's a reactivity that the Aries North Node can have because there's that impulsive,
Yes.
and it's spontaneous, and it's a good thing, generally speaking. And it's a good thing even in this situation if it's very reactive, because at least it's a reactivity that's taking the person away from this dysfunctional, Pepe Le Pew is one of my first stage Taurus famous people. Constantly chasing that cat who doesn't want to have anything to do with him.
Yes.
So when you say, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yes. So you're breaking out of that pattern, even though we're still reactive, we're still in second stage, and yet there's something new. There's some new life force, new breath entering the system.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, a person towards the end of second stage Taurus, some people, I don't know what the percentage is, it's probably a reasonably high percentage, maybe 60%, just a guess, just from my experience. In late second stage Taurus, they go, okay, forget about it. I'm not going to work on relationships. I want to be loved unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me. And there's almost this sense of wanting to make their partner pay. So a late second stage in all the signs is when the compensation has been going on for several lifetimes. This is the compensation of not being loved. And the person is getting into some crystallized behaviors that are not serving very well, either themselves or other people. So a late second stage Taurus plays a lot of games, pushes the person away, is wanting them to love them unconditionally, but still doesn't feel worthy of unconditional love. So this might be, if somebody's watching this because their partner or a person they're involved with is Taurus with North Node in Aries, and they've been having a lot of struggle and a lot of pain with that person, they could be in that late second stage place.
Right.
where their north node is saying, me, I'm the warrior. I'm spontaneously making sure I'm looked after, and I'm pushing relationship away, because
Yeah.
all my relationships in the past and all my attempt to try and make harmony and give love and create peace has destroyed me. It has taken me down the wrong path.
Yeah. And would you say that also, it can be a healthy thing in that someone, because Aries North Node is Libra South Node. So if there's a Taurus and in their second stage, they have been, they chose that, the first path that you talked about, still trying for relationship.
Yes.
Still trying to make it work and becoming progressively more dramatic.
Yes.
Then, having that Aries North Node can actually pull them into a place of, wait a minute, this, constant, it's like the definition of insanity from Einstein, right? Constantly. Yes. Yeah. I've been trying the same thing over and over again, and I'm expecting a different result. Actually, I'm realizing that I need to do some self-care here. I need to focus on who I am.
Yes.
And I need to because in second, third stage, one of the keys to actually navigating that transition is learning how to love ourselves unconditionally.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Locating that love. So Aries North Node can actually be a real boon, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Very much so for Taurus. Yeah, and it's interesting because if the person is not in the transition, it's going to make them, it will intensify that late second stage negative behavior.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
Games with the partner, push a partner away a lot and be super self-centered. But the moment that they choose to be conscious, and if somebody's in a relationship with a Taurus like this, that's going to be that other person's choice of when they're going to be conscious. Until they choose to be conscious, they're not going to be good for someone to be involved with, because it's a no-win situation. So until they choose to be conscious and take that path of self-love, it's best to sort of step away slowly.
Yes, right.
But once you're in second, third stage, absolutely, for Taurus, an Aries North Node with a Libra South Node will be a massive benefit.
Yeah.
Massive benefit.
Yeah. And that Libra South Node, they'll never forget how to have relationship if they're, if they've learned all of the self-love component, if they've actually learned how to nurture themselves, to stay centered. Taurus is very much about balance. It's very much about finding our inner stability, right? So once that's mastered, and we've done that by doing a little bit of that self-centered, spending a little bit of time, frankly, in a healthy self-centered place, self-centered in a healthy way, then we still have that Libra South Node, the gift of being able to, have an equal relationship, to know what reciprocity is. And and I guess that's, that's more of like actually pointing toward the true third stage.
Yes, it is. It really is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Aries North Node in second and third stage is going to focus your attention on that self-love. And also second, third stage Taurus is very much about developing one's own talents and having that communion with your own inner being. So again, it focuses inward towards the self. So that's a wonderful thing for second, third stage. And the second stage, Libra, is a warning to stay away from negative relationships, to stay away from the old subconscious relationship pattern that you had. Because what happens with Taurus is that until they break the pattern, there's a lot more chemistry if a person can't be reached, if I can't have them in some way. Yes. And if somebody really loves you, there's a numbness that happens to a Taurus in their in first, second, or a second, third stage. It hasn't changed that pattern because it's not exciting. It's not following the pattern I'm used to.
So one of the things you talk about, Tina, that's such a beautiful point. And it reminds me that one of the things you talk about is that in second stage Taurus, there's that, kind of very familiar, very common pattern of unrequited love, going after somebody that doesn't love us. And yet it can also be mixed in with relationships where the Taurus gets into partnership with somebody who does actually love them and is showing up, but the Taurus develops that numbness and they actually end up not reciprocating.
Right. Yeah. They either develop the numbness or they will actually choose somebody they don't have chemistry with because they've collapsed. It's been so many, many lifetimes that nobody loved them back, that they just give up. Somebody's finally loving me.
Mm-hmm.
To have the reciprocal relationship isn't possible anyway, so I may as well at least have some love finally.
Yes.
Now, I think a Libra South node would probably prevent that from happening, because the Libra, that second piece, because the Libra South node has a soul understanding of a reciprocity in relationship that might predate their entire time in the sign of Taurus, because first and second stage Taurus doesn't have that experience. So to have a soul memory of that is going to go back further.
Right.
Very interesting.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
So it will tend, it doesn't guarantee that the person won't take refuge in a relationship where someone else is in love with them who they're not in love with, but it really diminishes that likelihood.
Right.
But it's different when there is a real partner who you can have chemistry with and you initially really feel that, but then they turn around and really love you, and then all of a sudden, oh, I don't know how I feel about them now. That is the old pattern kind of trying to reassert itself. You're not used to this experience of somebody actually loving you. So, in my book, I talk about the myth of Bacchus and Ariadne as being the myth of Taurus. And I won't go into the detail of that here because I've done it elsewhere. But there's a point in that myth where the god Bacchus is pursuing Ariadne and she doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Mm-hmm. And part of that is well, I'm not used to this.
Yes.
I'm used to mourning for what I can't have.
Right. So in the second, third stage, one of the keys is also learning to receive.
Yes, it is. Right. Yeah, it really is.
So we're learning to receive. We're learning to receive not only from another person, but really universal love.
Yep. Most definitely.
Mm.
And the universal love piece brings us towards a third stage, marriage of the nodes, because Aries is that universal oneness, that surrender to the one, and Libra is universal harmony.
Yes.
So that brings us that divine love that flows to us and through us. Third stage Taurus is the expression of unconditional love, which means that they are loved by the divine love flows into them and through them, and everything is unconditional love, which is flowing everywhere in all directions.
Yeah. And the third stage Taurus has this beautiful balance between having the connection with divine love, with universal love, and then being able to also have an earthly partnership.
Yes.
That is balanced and that is loving in both directions. And holding both, right? Because we really do need both. We can't just rely on the human love with a human partner if we don't have the divine love. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we do need the human partnership. At least a third stage Taurus definitely does.
Yes. Yeah, we're in this physical world. It's all part of, that the physical partnership serves a very divine purpose. It always serves, a really functional partnership always multiplies the good of everything and everyone around them. Mm. And another part of third stage Taurus is because there's unconditional love that flows to and into and through the person, there's a tremendous social consciousness, a social awareness. So yes. Third stage Taurians are always doing something on a collective scale that benefits the world, that stands up for something that needs to be an expression of love in the world, often political or social. And the Libra South Node helps that because it's that sense of divine justice.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I see this as being such a beautiful placement because once we've actually achieved a balance in learning how to receive and then to give, then the third stage Taurus is still a very giving individual.
Oh, yes.
They're very giving to those around them. And yet the way that they do it is like a kind of like a water wheel. I think you've actually used that metaphor, right? So you're actually receiving the divine love coming into you, and then you're giving from that place. So you never actually get depleted.
Nope.
You just naturally do not allow that to happen. You're really opening yourself.
Charged and energized.
Yeah, you're charged, you're energized, and then the giving happens very organically. It happens very naturally. And so the Libra is there also, the South Node, as we said, the Libra, the South Node and the North Node come together then, and there's a balance. We're still using our gifts from the past, our gifts of reciprocity, our gifts of diplomacy. A third stage Taurus with the Libra South Node may know how to come in and take charge when they need to, but they also will always be aware of other people's feelings, right? They're still going to be aware that there are others in this world that we need to be conscious of. And there are dynamics and a balance that we do, that we need to be artful about how we work within that. And at the same time, it's no longer a threat to us in that it will drag us back into that place of overgiving.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So I think that, actually I didn't talk about first, third stage transition. I'm not sure. I don't think people are really born into that. It'd be very rare to actually be born into a first, third stage transition. So I don't think that would, or at the crossroads, because the crossroads is where we have a choice to go. At the end of first stage, we always have a choice to go to either second stage or third stage, but that's never going to be presented to us at birth. It's going to be in the context of a lifetime. So
if you're listening to this video, then it's probably either one or the other, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that covers what we have to say about that right now.
Okay.